Sinifuna vokamba kamba. Vokamba kamba vimaleta ulemu. Some of your mates, if it was in the village, you would have had grandkids. Just because he's from Livingston doesn't mean he's Tonga. Like, how unintelligent can you be? Vokamba kamba vimataisa ulemu. Nisa kuchaya mambezi. Hello and welcome to Zambia. What a day. Cue in applause. Thank you so much for joining me on the current on Zambia What a Day. Oh my God, I've got a space called the current space. So like you kind of get these things mixed up. But my name is Dingindaba Jonah Buyoya. My name is Dingindaba Jonah Buyoya, and I'd like to thank you so much for joining me and us taking a look at some of the things that are happening. What's coming up? Well, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack in the country at the moment. And I know we can't exhaust everything, but we'll try to scratch some of these things just so we can all be updated with what's happening in Zambia. Are you excited? Yay! I mean, it's incomplete without me using that thing, because it's my mojo. But apart from the very serious stuff, we're going to talk about is the removal of the 3 Constitutional Court judges. Another human being has died at KCM. A second one in less than a week, because the first person to die at KCM was on Saturday. A man called Lawrence Ndalama died on Saturday, and another man has died today. KCM has now halted operations. We'll be getting into detail into that as well. But on the funnier side of things, well, only funny because how does somebody become a fake doctor? So we'll talk about this as well. A fake doctor has been nabbed in Kasama. We also talk about some more serious stuff, economic performance of the country. You may be aware that the International Monetary Fund had dropped the initial projection. Zambia was projected to grow at 2.3%. It is now expected to grow at 1.2% now. The economy has really, really been in a shambles, and we'll be getting into detail into that. In fact, let's start off right now. Let's start with this story, which is Kasama man, Gerald Shimba. He's a businessman in Kasama district, Northern Province. He has been arrested for operating an illegal health facility. The apprehension followed an operation by a task force on medical pilferage, which included Zambia police officers, Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority, Drug Enforcement Commission, and the Ministry of Health. And during the raid, the task force discovered a variety of unauthorized drugs at the facility that he was administering to people. He took this whole Dr. Mom thing too seriously, because we always joke about how when you've got a headache and you've got a running tummy or just painful stomach, your mom is going to give you medication, like she's a doctor or something, using experience. And so he did this like on a large scale, went ahead and did it on a large scale and opened a whole shop.
Operating unregistered pharmacies or medical facilities is a violation of Section 14, subsection 1 of the Medicines and Allied Substances Act No. 3 of 2013 of the laws of Zambia. Recently, a local businessman in Kasama district, Northern Province, has been running a facility stocked with medication illegally. This was discovered when a task force investigating medical pilferage conducted a surprise inspection of his facility.
And we have a number of drugs. Some of them we have seen, yes, they might not be expired, but we don't know how they came into the country. So Zambia has not checked them to see if they are okay for our Zambian people. But again, we have checked with Health Professional Council of Zambia. He's not one of our doctors that is listed to be practicing in Kasama.
During the inspection, the task force found no documentation permitting such an operation. All the qualifications are documented in French, hence this misunderstanding. Mr. Chishimba is believed to have been treating patients without the necessary qualifications, raising concerns among qualified healthcare professionals.
We know the registered private hospitals in Kasama, we can also guide them. But if they just go, they hear their neighbors that there's this doctor with unknown origin, and then you just go there, and then you are putting your life at risk.
This poses a significant danger to consumers as they may receive improper medical treatment and potentially harmful medications. Kalombe Kapambwe, Damo News.
For me, it's really like people are so brave. People are really so brave, because how do you do that? How do you get that kind of confidence to open a health facility and start administering medication when you don't have the qualification? He just thought all it takes is a white coat and I've got this. You know, do I have a white coat? Then I have got this. And he went ahead and did his thing. It's a really, really bizarre thing for people to do. And I wish people could have some level of fear. Like, just have some fear. We say that umwenso ushtina patu nono na pafingi ushumfua patu nono na pafingi takonfo. Like, just have some fear. Let's talk about the more serious stuff. And we turn our attention to the removal of judges. The JCC recommended for the removal of 3 constitutional court judges that had previously been suspended. Now, some stakeholders are calling for an independent judicial complaints commission. Zambia Civil Liberties Union Executive Director Isaac Mwanza wants the commission to be held accountable over their decisions. Mr. Mwanza is wondering why the commission went ahead to hear and determine a complaint against the 3 Concourt judges when there is an active case before the Constitutional Court that is challenging the decision to hear a complaint against the judges. Green Party President Peter Sinkamba, as you might want to know, has dragged the JCC to the Constitutional Court, and he wants an interim order to stay President Hakainde Hichilema's suspension of the 3 judges who have now been removed. And there's other stakeholders that are speaking, like the governance and development advocates. They are saying that President Hakainde Hichilema's decision to dismiss the judges is the right course of action to take, provided for by the Constitution.
On Sunday, October 20th, 2024, President Hakainde Hichilema sacked 3 top judges whom he had previously suspended for alleged judicial misconduct. The 3 judges are Mungeni Mulenga, Palani Mulonda, and Anis Tari. The president's decision to suspend them follows a recommendation from the Judicial Complaints Commission, JCC, from a complaint challenging their qualifications filed by a Lusaka businessman, Moses Kalonde.
We are looking forward to a situation when we are going to have independent commissions, the Judicial Service Commission and the Judicial Complaints Commission. As it stands now, there's nobody who can hold the Judicial Complaints Commission. We know that there are matters in court that challenge the Judicial Service Complaints Commission over this matter, but it has still gone ahead to make decisions, meaning that they have become above the law. So we need to look at the factors that can ensure that our judges are secure, that their tenure of security is guaranteed. As it is now, even the serving judges, there is a possibility that in future, when there is a change of a regime, they may also be removed by the same process, and nobody is going to protect them.
But Governance and Development Advocates Zambia Executive Director Elias Mulenga says the president only followed the law to remove the judges from office.
It is actually the law that has compelled him to do that, because he has only followed what the Constitution provides. As such, we see nothing wrong in the way the president has acted, and we feel this is the way things should be handled.
According to Article 144 of the Constitution, the removal of a judge may be initiated by the Judicial Complaints Commission or by a complaint made to the Judicial Complaints Commission based on the ground that the judge has a mental or physical disability that makes him incapable of performing judicial functions, incompetence, gross misconduct, and bankruptcy. The Judicial Complaints Commission shall, where it decides that a prima facie case has been established against a judge, submit a report to the President, who within 7 days from the date of receiving the report submitted, suspend the judges from office and inform the Judicial Complaints Commission of the suspension. The Commission shall within 30 days of the judge being suspended from office hear the matter against the judge, and where it decides that the allegations against the judge are not substantiated, recommend to the President the revocation of the judge's suspension, and the President shall immediately revoke the suspension, or the Commission shall recommend to the President the removal of the judge from office, and the President shall immediately remove the judge from office. Jairus Jonya, Tamil News.
First of all, this is a very arguable issue. Like, it's very debatable. But I did an interview this evening with Focus on Africa, BBC Focus on Africa, and I thought to myself just now that, might as well just play the interview that I did with Focus. It's very brief, and I think that it adds a lot of context to what is going on with the 3 Constitutional Court judges and some of the important questions that people may be asking. So let me just play that clip. I hope that's okay, and then we can talk about it after. So let me just get to the clip. I should have somewhere in here. Yeah. Okay, so the issue right now at the moment has got to do with the 3 Constitutional Court judges that President Hakainde Hichilema has fired. A very interesting turn of events, really. Especially an interesting turn of events that I wouldn't exactly describe as surprising. What you would note is that if you've been following what's been happening, the moment that these Constitutional Court judges were suspended, I think it was expected that they were most likely, not gonna make it through this process, because obviously for the Judicial Complaints Commission to reach the extent of making the recommendation to the President and suggesting that these Constitutional Court judges had to be removed, that could have suggested that it reached an advanced stage. And yeah, we're now able to play this interview, so let's do that.
When Hichilema and Lungu are expected to face each other for a 4th time. Jonah Buyoya is a former BBC Komla Dumo Award winner. He told me more about what happened.
A complaint by a private citizen who argued that the 3 Constitutional Court judges did not have the minimum requirements that are prescribed in the Constitution for them to serve on the bench of the Constitutional Court. And one such requirement was that they need to have experience as human rights lawyers. They needed to have previous experience in human rights advancement, which unfortunately the argument was that they didn't have. And considering the fact that the Judicial Complaints Commission recommended for them to be removed, it simply suggests that they probably didn't have these qualifications that are required.
Why is the president being criticized when it's the Judicial Complaints Commission that sacked these 3 judges?
Well, how the process is that all the Judicial Complaints Commission can do is make a recommendation. So they make a recommendation before the president on the suspension of judges, any judges, not just Constitutional Court judges, any judges, and the president decides whether to suspend or not suspend. And the suspension basically means that within 30 days, a decision must be made after a hearing by the Judicial Complaints Commission. But perhaps what makes this a peculiar situation is there's an election eligibility petition before the Constitutional Court right now. In December this year, once again, the country will be listening to whether or not former President Edgar Lungu is eligible to contest future elections. He apparently is not qualified to have contested the 2021 election according to the argument currently before the Constitutional Court. What is interesting is that this case has been before the Constitutional Court, and previously he was declared eligible to contest, and that's why he contested in 2021.
Has the president ever raised concerns, either while in office or before he was elected, about these three judges or the judiciary in general?
President Hakainde Hichilema once called these Constitutional Court judges criminals in disguise, criminals disguised as judges. And so his verbatim was, he called them criminals in silk cloth. And that in itself was an indication that the president has never been satisfied with these Constitutional Court judges. In fact, when the president came in, he appointed some new Concourt judges.
What do supporters of President Hakainde Hichilema say in his defense about his concerns regarding the judiciary? And also, what do the supporters of former President Edgar Lungu say about some of the rulings he's received before the courts, which may have been deemed as controversial?
I expect it's ping pong. The supporters of President Hakainde Hichilema say that everything that has happened over the last few weeks, over the last few months, is well within the Constitution, and they are right. All the actions that the president has taken of removing these judges, suspending these judges, are powers that the Constitution gives him. And so he argues that he's only doing what the law says, he's only doing what the Constitution gives him as powers that a president must hold. But those that are in opposition, those that are supporters of former President Edgar Lungu, say that the Constitution is being used to conveniently remove a strong opponent in the forthcoming election.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I think that really does sum it up on this story. I don't think I would have said it any different way. So I'll leave that. I'll leave that story, because I think all the issues that could possibly be coming up have come up in this Constitutional Court issue. The Lusaka City Council is urging Kamwala Market evictees to explore alternative relocation options due to the ongoing delays in the Cash for Work program. I beg your pardon. And this is because there's 67 families that were evicted for illegally occupying shops at Kamwala South Market. So these families were living inside the shops at the market. There's a market called Kamwala South Market, and these families were living in those shops. And the Lusaka City Council evicted these people from these shops because they argued that it was unsanitary for people to live in those shops, and they should find conducive accommodation for them to live in. The people have been protesting because they are saying that they participated in the Cash for Work program and they've not been paid their money, so they would like to be paid their money so they can find alternative places to live. These people have continued staying in that vicinity, but not in the shops. Some of them have found places to live. Others are just roaming around that area, and their hope is that there's going to be some sort of intervention from the local authority or their local leaders.
A week has passed since the eviction of 67 families at Kamwala South Market, leaving them stranded and uncertain about their future. The recent eviction has left many struggling to rebuild their lives. The displacement has caused immense hardship for others.
Notice na 1 month na 2 months. Because the one to bengi pampe papa bengi sana. Mama naka so tatulesekera mu na ifevu. Icho chonse tatule umfabu nfwe bantu. Mu market muyama widozi mamona abasha kwata barume mamona tabakwata barume. Ne basha kwata enjito. Omotulira.
As the Kamwala Market evictees navigate the challenges of relocation, it is clear that long-term solutions are necessary.
We have 2 weeks to open the office in this market. The information that is about WDC tilinayo ni yakuti banaba pasa notice. So, bamene bali mu committee, bacheya na ba committee yabo, they are saying that they have been given that notice banaba pasa 2 weeks, then babawaikirako ya kwa na 1 month according to them. So now, ba authority pamene banabwira, we called them to our office. Aba bantu bamene mwa chosa mkati bali panja hapa, they are refusing to go. Banakamba kuti feta paswa ma orders kuchokera kumwamba huko.
for those depending on the cash for work payments have been urged to seek alternative means of support to relocate in light of the cash for work payment delays. Lusaka City Council Public Relations Officer Jola Mwamba has, however, assured all those that participated in the program that they will soon be paid once copies of registers are compiled and submitted to the bank.
The local authority would like to assure everyone that has taken part in the Cash for Work program that they will receive their payment. As long as they have worked, their payment will be done. The delay in some parts of the city where people have worked and have not received their pay is because some registers were submitted to the local authority in hard copy, and we'll have to ensure that these registers are done in the soft copy and taken to the bank so that the payments can be processed.
The families were evicted for illegally occupying shops at Kamwala South Market, using them as homes. According to Lusaka City Council, the eviction aimed to bring order and sanity to the trading area, adding that illegal occupations were promoting poor sanitary conditions. Peter Zunda Jr., Tamo News.
It's very unfortunate, and while all of this is very, I don't know, it's got two sides to it. I completely understand the Lusaka City Council. They have this responsibility, and I guess it's the compassion, the empathy that we have as people that sort of drives lawlessness to an extent. Because for me as a human being, when I see those videos and pictures of families living outside, kind of makes me sad. It makes me sad because families are spending nights in the cold and all those things, little children, and these are already vulnerable families. And my human instinct is telling me to feel sad for these people. And it also is, an awakening moment for me, because I'm thinking life is really hard out there for people. People have it rough. But you can understand the actions of the Lusaka City Council. People cannot live in shops, in a market. It is designated for something. And it is these tiny things that we do that contribute to the larger chaos that we see in our society, especially in Lusaka, And for an area like a market, people, and you probably already know this, but, markets generally in Lusaka have very poor sanitation. And then people living there makes it much, much worse. Much, much worse. Such a danger. But you can just think about how hard life has got to be for people to reach an extent of deciding that they're going to start living in the shops. They were just staying in the shops, as homes. Because in these communities, the shops are much cheaper, actually. So that's why these people were living in those shops. The Lusaka High Court has dismissed with costs the matter in which fugitive Petauke Member of Parliament Emmanuel Banda sued the state. He was seeking, among other reliefs, damages for his alleged abduction, because he argues that he was abducted by the state. The matter has been dismissed, and Justice Mwapebo says that nobody has been attending, obviously, for obvious reasons, because the man is on the run. He's at large. And so nobody has been attending court for all of this. So, yeah, it's been dismissed.
It has been over 5 months since Petauke Central Member of Parliament Emmanuel J. Banda allegedly went missing from a hospital where he had been admitted in Chipata district. His search by authorities has not yielded any positive results. Before his disappearance, Mr. Banda has sued 2 State House officials, namely President Hakainde Hichilema's political advisor Levi Ngoma, State House Communications Specialist Clayson Hamasaga, and UPND Deputy National Youth Chairperson Trevor Mwinde, demanding for damages for his alleged abduction. And months after his legal suit, the court has decided to dismiss the matter with cost for want of prosecution. In a ruling, the court says a date in which to hear an application for conservatory order had been set on September 30th, 2024, but there was no attendance by any of the parties involved, and no reasons were advanced for the failed attendance. Again, on October 1st, 2024, the court was supposed to hear the matter, and yet none of the parties appeared. Arising from that, Justice Mwapewawa has since ordered that the application for a conservatory order and the main petition dismissed for want of prosecution with cost to be taxed in default of agreement. In this matter, Mr. Banda wanted a declaration that the alleged torture by Mr. Ngoma, Mr. Hamasaga and Mr. Mwinde, including inflicting pain with a plank and a cable, pulling his tongue with a pair of pliers, tying his genitals in a bead to have them cut off, or the threat thereof, was an act of subjecting him to torture and inhuman degrading treatment, contrary to Article 11A, 13, and 15 of the Constitution of Zambia. He was also seeking a declaration that his evacuation from Midland Hospital to Minor Soko Hospital against his will and the consent of his relatives by the police contravened Article 11A of the Constitution of Zambia. He further wanted a declaration that the order by President Hakainde Hichilema to reopen a matter that was concluded by way of judgment and was not appealed against or reviewed contravenes or is likely to contravene Article 18.5 of the Constitution of Zambia. Darius Jonya, Damo News.
And in our final story for today, the Economics Association of Zambia is saying that the growth projection by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, of 1.2% from the initial 2.3% in 2024 renders the 2025 projected growth of 6.6% ambitious. Board member of the Economics Association of Zambia, Emmanuel Zulu, says the prevailing economic shocks, such as the drought that is induced by load shedding and poor performance of the local currency, will have a negative impact on the country's GDP. And I am supposed to talk to him, so we're going to try and speak with him and just hear his word. And just hear his word on this, and for him to weigh in. I'm just laughing at one of the comments, very angry gentleman, at the fact that the audio was not playing. But let me just try to speak to economist Emmanuel Zulu, who's gonna weigh in on this for us. So the technicalities are a bit complicated because the phone that I'm using at the moment is the phone that I'm trying to get a hold of him through. And that's because he is not, on the space and actively on Twitter. So I'm just trying to get a hold of him so that we can try to hear from him, weigh in on the economic growth projection, which has basically been reduced from 2.3% to 1.2%. And the issue with that is that the country has now projected 6.6% growth for 2025. Now, if the country is growing at 1.2% in 2024, the issue is how is the country going to grow at 6.6% in 2025? And these are the concerns that the Economics Association of Zambia is raising, and that's what we'll try to talk about just now.
An International Monetary Fund delegation led by Ms. Mercedes Vera Martin has been in the country to conduct discussions with the Zambian government from the 2nd to the 15th of October 2024 on economic and financial policies to support the approval of the 4th review under the ECF-supported arrangement. In a press statement released on the 17th of October 2024, the IMF has indicated that due to prolonged hours of load shedding, economic growth has been hampered, particularly in the non-mining sector. Growth in 2024 is projected at 1.2% from the initial 2.3%. A situation that Economic Association of Zambia board member Emmanuel Zulu says will render the 6.6 growth projection for 2025 an ambitious one.
Looking at where we were when we are making the downgrade of growth from 4.8 to 2.3, at least that time we were actually subjected to 12 hours of load shedding. So the dynamics have changed. I think we had not yet seen the full manifestation of the challenges that the drought would have brought on the economy. We are now talking about 3 hours of power supply. That's affect growth, and I think it speaks to what IMF is now seeing And the fact that you're not producing, your key sectors are suppressed, so you're not collecting as much revenue as you are supposed to collect, and also that affects your output. So GDP is actually suppressed in its current state. So that also speaks to the projected 2025 growth rate of 6.6. It now places it at a very more ambitious point, where you are coming from a downgrade of 2.3, 1.2 now, and now you have to jump to 6.6. I don't know what measures the government will have to employ to achieve that. I think it's too ambitious. We may need to reconsider the economic environment, because at 2023 the fundamentals were relatively better than they are today.
The IMF team has underscored the need to advance energy and governance reforms while continuing efforts to level the playing field to promote private sector-led growth that will enhance job creation. Rachel Mumba for Diamond News.
All right. I guess we are not going to be able to get a hold of him. I've just been advised. So we should try and arrange for an interview, and I think we should be able to talk to him tomorrow and just get his way in. All right, that's a wrap for today's edition of Zambia What a Day. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Dingindaba Jonah Buyoya. Zambia, what a day.